In today's video, I'm going to be ranking all the Freida McFadden books that I've read from worst, in my opinion, to best, in my opinion. And I've read quite a lot of them. And even if I don't rate some of these that high, Freida still can't do no real wrong, in my opinion, because her books are so addicting and so fun. And there's never been a book that I did not want to just like fly through, no matter how ridiculous I thought it was. So yeah, sit down, grab yourself a drink. I have my Zero Dr. Pepper here, which is really good. I know that might be unpopular, but it's so good. So grab yourself a drink, grab yourself maybe a snack. And if you're wondering why I'm like looking over there, it's because I have my nose there, because some of these books I read quite a while ago, so bear with me. We're gonna try to do this quick, fast, and efficient. Okay, so I think we're just gonna jump right into it. And I don't have most of these books as a physical copy, so I can't show you them like physically, but I will put pictures for all of the books here, I think this is a good spot. So yeah, enough rambling. It's already been almost 2 minutes. Let's just hop right into it. And the book that I've rated the lowest, that I think a lot of people can actually agree with, is The Housemaid's Wedding. And I will keep this video as spoiler-free as possible, and if I will mention a spoiler, which I will try not to do, I will tell you guys beforehand, or put a warning on the screen beforehand, I promise. I won't ruin your Freida medical experience. But anyway, the book I ranked the lowest was The Housemaid's Wedding. And it's this tiny book, tiny, that I think is like 87 pages. And it's like supposed to be like the wedding of like the two main characters in the Housemaid series. And yeah, it's just like I said, it's very tiny, it's very short. And still in that tiny short books, he tried to put like a whole mystery, and that mystery just felt like a copy of the other Housemaid books. It didn't feel like it really added anything to it. And despite being called The Housemaid's Wedding, the wedding part was very underwhelming. I felt like there was no real like a value to this book. And I'm glad it was just a short story, and that it was like, it only took me like maximum like 2 hours to read, so that was fine. But it just didn't really add anything to the series. I felt like it kind of devalued the series almost, because I didn't think it was really like a good way to end it. I didn't really feel like it added anything to it, which just, I do really love the Housemaid series, but yeah, no, that was not it. Up next, I rank The Crash, which is one of her newest books. Not her newest anymore, because The Tenant is out by the time I'm recording this, but The Crash was the one that came out before The Tenant. I think it came out like earlier this year, somewhere in like January or February. Don't quote me on that, I'm not exactly sure. And I rated it 2 stars. It's basically about this woman who, I think she's like in debt. I don't fully remember. There was some sort of reason why she couldn't or didn't feel safe at home. So she went to go and stay with her brother. Oh yeah, it was because she had a one night stand with a man, and that man did not want her to be pregnant. And she like was like trying to get money from him with a lawyer and stuff, and he was trying to pay her off. And then she declined because he found out something, and then she didn't feel safe anymore, so she went to stay with her brother, or that was the plan. But when she went and traveled home to her brother, not home, but like she traveled to her brother, there was this bad storm going on, and then she ended up in a crash. Hence the name, The Crash. Anyway, so yeah, that's why it's named The Crash. And then she gets found by this man, and this man is like, she's like scared of him. He's like a man in a truck, whatever. And he takes her to his house, and there she meets his wife, and his wife used to be a nurse. And then she stays with them overnight, and then things just go a bit crazy, because she's like stuck there. So yeah, it sounds, the concept, now that I'm saying it out loud again, it sounds really good. But I just had a few things that I did not agree with this book. First of all, I think they kept calling the baby, like the baby, Little Olive. She's like, come on, little Olive, while she was talking to herself. And after the 100th time of reading Little Olive, I kind of wanted to scrape the word olive from my brain and never hear it again. And then one thing that's sometimes rough for me is when I'm reading a book and I'm not rooting for anyone. I wasn't rooting for the main character in this book. I kind of felt like she didn't have like any real personality whatsoever, and that is just a little bit exhausting for like 300 pages. And then it was both too over the top for me and too slow. I don't know how that happened. I just wasn't a big fan of this book. Okay, the next one is the last book I rated 2 stars, okay? It's the last one, and maybe I should have put this one before The Crash. I'm now second guessing myself. I do love Freida's books, I promise. There are just some that I didn't vibe with because she is very hit or miss for me. And the last book I rated 2 stars, and it's the third lowest, is The Surrogate Mother. It's about this woman who really wants to get pregnant, but she can't. And then her assistant, Monica, is like, hey, I can be your surrogate, or something like that. I don't exactly remember. It's something about, somehow Monica becomes a surrogate. That's why it's called The Surrogate Mother. I'm packing titles one at a time. So yeah, that's why it becomes a surrogate mother. What? I already can't speak. That's why it's called The Surrogate Mother. And like, this whole book was just too insane for me. I didn't like it. There was something about it that made me feel so uncomfortable, and I can't even really put it into words. And then one thing Freida is kind of known for is that she has like a big twist, but then there's like one bigger twist that you never see coming. Like you think like, oh, we finally figured everything out. Think again, you didn't. There's something else coming. Like that's kind of her whole thing. And here, I don't think there was a bigger twist at the end. And the ending was also just very confusing. There was something about a blanket that I just did not understand. And I don't want to give any spoilers, so I can't really say it here. But if you've read the book, you know what I mean. If you understood the ending, please tell me, because I still haven't been able to figure it out, and it's kind of driving me insane. The next book on the list, we're going a little high now, 3 stars, is The Tenant, which is her latest book. And this book I literally read in one day, and it's still fresh in my mind because I read it earlier this week, because I think it came out on the 6th of May. When I'm recording this, it's the 10th of May. So, no, I hit my ring light, I'm sorry. So it's still very fresh in my mind, and it's about this couple, and this book is from the POV of a man, and that alone is just, oh my god, it's like insufferable. But okay. It's about this man who lives together with his wife Krista. I already forgot his name. Something, I don't remember. Anyway, he lives with his wife Krista, and they have money issues because he got fired from his last job. And Krista's like suggesting that they will hire a tenant, that they will find a tenant who will rent one of the rooms in their house in, I think it's Brooklyn. Then he's like kind of against it, but he decides like, you know what, we'll do it because we really need the money, whatever. And then you have like all these weird people coming in. If you read the book, what the fuck was Quelizabeth? If you haven't read the book, you're just like, what are you even talking about? Anyway, so they find this tenant, and I think her name was Whitney. They find this tenant named Whitney. Great, she's perfect, she's kind. But then things start to go wrong, and the tenant and the main character, the dude, whose name I still can't remember, something with a D, I think, kind of had like a fallout. And he feels that Whitney's like trying to like torment him and do everything like against him. And it just kind of, he becomes very, very paranoid. And that was just a bit too much. Like, the one problem I had, I did really enjoy this book because, like I said, I read it in one day. It wasn't boring, but one problem that I kind of had with this book was that I feel like there were no real stakes whatsoever. I never felt like any of the main characters were like ever in like any real danger. And I felt like you were just kind of along for the ride, but you weren't really getting any clues as to what was really happening. And like I said, since there were no real stakes, I never really felt that invested in the book. And once again, I didn't really root for any of these characters. I didn't really like the main character. He was kind of driving me insane. So that was just like, yeah, no. And then I have some more thoughts, like a certain someone shouldn't have died, in my opinion. I felt like that was a very cheap way out. And yeah, no, I won't be saying any more than that because I don't want to give anything serious away, because the book is still like very new and very like recently released, and I'm going to be the person who spoils that. But yeah, it was good. It was just a bit forgettable, I guess. Next, we have the teacher, and I feel like I should have put the teacher before the tenant, because the teacher, like this whole book was just gross. Like, it's about this woman who's a teacher at a school, and she's like this problem student, and then she is like cheating on her husband, and her husband is like cheating on her, and then there are like a lot of like teacher-student relationship rumors going on at the same time. And like I feel like both the main characters were just like sexual predators, and like it was just disgusting. They were all, I hated all of them. Like, they should have definitely been before the tenant. I regret my choices. It's just like the actions in the book were just annoying. There were a lot of like filler chapters that didn't really add anything to the story, and the whole storyline was just so weird. And like the relationships in this book just made me feel so disgusted that I had a really difficult time like trying to enjoy it, because it was just, I hate it. And up next we have Ward G, which is about Amy who goes to work at like a the mental hospitals. It's about Amy who goes to work night shifts on the mental health unit in the hospital. And a lot of people don't want to do it. She never wanted to do it. She never wanted to be like part of like the overnight staff. But she has to do it because it's like important. She's a medical student, so she has to like do that rotation. It's mandatory. And then as things go on, Amy kind of just becomes like convinced that something terrible is going to happen, because I feel like all the people who were like, all the patients in that unit were like kind of unsettling and like restless, and they were feeling like kind of on edge, so that made Amy feel on edge. And it was just like very creepy. And then people start to like go missing and vanish like in the unit itself, which like whenever someone goes like missing in like a locked room or a locked hallway, like a locked whatever, like a locked part of something, like you get the vibe I'm going for, right? That's just so creepy to me, because I feel like, what do you mean you go missing in a space where you shouldn't be able to go missing? But yeah, I rated this book 3 stars, and the main reason I did that was because I did not like the way Freida talked about the way the character described mental illness, and the way she handled some of these characters in the book. Like, it might have been like, it's definitely not the worst way people have handled different mental illnesses in books, but it did feel a little bit like too disrespectful sometimes. And like she wasn't really having like a grasp on what some of these illnesses actually meant. Like, it was more like she read like a definition, was like, okay, I will just run with it and not really go like further in depth. But that might also have just been my experience. Like I said, the rest of the story was really good, and if it wasn't for that, I would have definitely rated it higher. But that just kind of made me feel like a bit iffy. Now we're actually moving on to the 4-star category, and these are some of my favorite thrillers. Like, most of these I absolutely adore. And the first one we have is The Coworker. I want to say The Coworker by Freida McFadden, as if we aren't just talking about Freida this entire video. Like, I don't have to do that. So in this book, there are like 2 co-workers who share like an office space, like they kind of have like the cubicles like right next to each other, you know what I mean? Like if you have like those weird like 4 cubicles, I've never worked in an office, but yeah, cubicle, like they're like next to each other, like either like that or like that. You get the point. They're sitting next to each other in the office where they work at. And you have Natalia, who's like very like, you know, she's very popular, people like her a lot, she's good with like the rest of her team, she's very pretty, like she's described as like being very genuine, friendly, like very nice to like everyone, very like the it girl, like if you would be in high school, but like Miss Popular, who's like kind to everyone, but also like you can't really talk to her without feeling like you actually can, you know. And then you have Dawn, who is like the complete opposite. She's like bit shy, bit strange, she's like on the autism spectrum. She has issues like being social, she has a special interest in turtles, and she doesn't really give a lot of information, like she doesn't really care a lot about fashion and things like that. She has no like friends, and she always shows up at the exact same time, but then one day she doesn't show up, like she's just gone. And Natalia, who's like sitting right next to her, is like, hey, wait, what is going on, you know, like where are you? And then Natalia gets like a phone call and she's like, shit, like what the hell? So she kind of like tries to figure out what happened, because she needs to find like, she wants to like find answers about this phone call, where Dawn is. So she goes to her house, and then the door's unlocked and Dawn isn't there, and things just kind of go from there, and it's all a bit insane. That's like the main plot, without giving away any spoilers. Once again, that's so difficult, I feel like, because the interesting parts usually are the spoilers that you can't really tell if someone else wants to read the book. I really enjoyed this book. I would have rated it 5 stars, but there was like a romance plot in it that I did not really care about. I will say that Dawn is a fucking baddie, and the ending was, I loved it. The ending was so good. It was so much fun. I want to reread this book. I really do. Next, we have one that I haven't really seen people talk about, and it's The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie. It's so long. The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie. It's so funny. This is like a book that's supposed to like make fun of her own thrillers and like thrillers in general. And it's so ridiculous and over the top, and I absolutely love it for that reason, because it's meant to be like silly and it's meant to be like crazy and insane. It's about this woman who I think it's about this woman whose husband dies, and she sees him like being like buried and stuff, so it's like he must be dead. But then things start to happen, and like she still sees him around everywhere, even though he's supposed to be dead. And that's just creepy, by the way, to me. But yeah, so that's kind of like, she sees her dead husband everywhere she goes. And then since it's supposed to be like funny and like satire, the whole thing is just so insane that you can't really get a grip on what's happening. But that's like in the best way possible, because it's just so hilarious. Okay, so the next book I have is The Boyfriend. And I want to say The Boyfriend again by Freida McFadden. Like, I need to get into my brain that this whole video is just about her books. Because at this point, I'm kind of a mess. And this book was a bit predictable in my opinion. I still ended up rating it 4 stars. That obviously means it was still enjoyable. But it was a bit too predictable for me, and that's why I didn't rate 5 stars. And this book is about Sydney, who's like single in New York, and then she meets this guy who is just absolutely perfect. Like, she can't think of a single thing that's wrong with him. But while she's meeting this guy and she's hanging out with him and starting to like date him and stuff, there's a murder close to where she lives of a young woman. The person who they think, like the profile they've created of this person, is a man in his like mid to late 30s, I think it was, who dates his victims and like makes them fall in love with them and stuff before he kills them. Now Sydney is really paranoid about this amazing guy she met, because she's like, is he too good to be true? Like, she's dating the guy of her dreams. But yeah, she's not sure what to think of him, because there's so much going on that it's just like she doesn't know. And like I said, in my opinion, this book was a bit too predictable. There weren't any like shocking moments. It was still obviously enjoyable because I rated it 4 stars, which is like really good in my opinion. Like I'm a bit picky with which books I gave 5 stars to, because I want them to be like memorable and like unforgettable pretty much. And this one was good, but it just wasn't up there. Up next, we have The Perfect Son, which I also rated 4 stars. And this is about, it's written from like the perspective of the mother of the kid who this book is pretty much about. And she feels like she has like this perfect family life. Like she has a great husband, her son is amazing. There's nothing really wrong in her life at all. Like everything is great. And then one day the cops show up at her house because a high school girl has gone missing. And like they think that she has been like murdered, and her son is the prime suspect in this investigation. And like she starts to like doubt everything she's ever known about him, and like doubt how she feels about her son. And it's just a lot going on in regards to like the investigation and all these secrets that are being kept within this family. And you kind of find out everything that's happening at the same time as her. So that is really crazy. I absolutely love this book. I don't know why I didn't rate it 5 stars anymore. I fully can't remember because it's been like a year since I read this book. I just remember that the plot twists in this book were absolutely amazing. It was definitely one of the better ones in my opinion. Like they just never stopped coming. It was like, I felt like I was losing like my mind a little bit because it was like, there was so much happening and somehow it all fit together, which was 10 out of 10. I loved it. Up next, we have, you can see my dog, I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry, he's really cute. But up next, we have another book that I rated 4 stars, which is The Locked Door. And this one is like kind of insane. I love this one so much. It's about this woman named Nora. It's about this woman named Nora. And her father was a serial killer, and he used to kill people while she was in the house as a kid. Like he would be in his basement doing like his fucked up serial killer stuff on women, and she didn't know until the police show up one day and are there to arrest her father. And then like you kind of skip forward, you kind of go back and forth, I think it was, between Nora in the past and current Nora, who is a very successful surgeon, and her father is in jail. And no one knows, okay? No one knows that Nora's father is a serial killer. She has kept that a secret from everyone, and I kind of can't judge her for that, because telling your friends or your co-workers or your future employee that your father is a serial killer, ooh, that would be a bit rough, I think. But anyway, so Nora is a surgeon, and one day one of her female patients gets murdered in the exact same way her father used to murder people, okay? Like, and now she's like, what's going on? Because now the police think that she is the one murdering people. It's insane, and I don't remember a lot else about this book other than that I adored it, I devoured it. I need to reread this because I remember there was some secret about Nora, but I can't remember what it was. And even if I could, I wouldn't tell you guys because it would be a big spoiler. But it was so good. It was so good. And then I also rated The Housemaid's Secret 4 stars. So I rated both The Housemaid Watching and The Housemaid Secret 4 stars. And I will talk more about the Housemaid series when I actually get to the first book, because then I feel like I can actually explain things without risking spoiling anything important to anyone who hasn't read the series yet. And then the last book I rated 4 stars is One by One, and this has one of my favorite concepts ever, which is being lost in the woods. Like, there's something so terrifying about the idea of being lost in the woods for me, and not knowing where you're going, and being like stuck in the dark and you don't know who or what is out there or what's watching you. And it's so good. I adored this book so much. This was actually my first Freida McFadden book. It was One by One. And that kind of caused me to go into like this whole spiral of like reading all of her other books. This like is one of my favorite books. And like it's about this group of friends who go like on like a trip. I think it was like meant to be like a hiking trip, I think. And then the minivan breaks down and they get stuck in the woods and they're trying to look for help, but they just keep getting lost and lost and lost. And then there are things going on and people are going missing and they don't know who or what is out there, what is watching them. And this whole concept is so creepy to me. So the first book in this little top 3 is Never Lie, and I rated this 5 stars like I just said before. And I haven't read this book in a long time, so I don't fully know the whole concept anymore. I just remember that it was about this couple who was going to look for a house, and they find this house that belonged to like a psychiatrist, and like she kind of went missing and no one knows where she went. Like she was just kind of like gone. And then they visit like this manor, which is like kind of in the middle of nowhere. And while they are there visiting it, they get trapped by a snowstorm and they can't leave. And there you have one of my favorite concepts again, being stuck in the middle of nowhere without knowing anyone and no one knowing you're there. You're kind of trapped and you can't go anywhere. It's fucking terrifying to me. And then I think her name was Trisha, like the female main character. Like she's like going around exploring the house, doing all this stuff. And then she finds a secret room by accident. And in this room, there's like rows and rows and rows of tapes from the psychiatrist who recorded all of her patients' like conversations. And then while she's there, she starts to find like secrets about people she knows in her own life. And she's not safe anymore. And this whole thing is so insane. And this is another one that I really want to reread. And having the urge to reread thrillers for me is so rare, because usually I just remember everything, and maybe that will be the case, but I know this still will keep me entertained. Second to last book is Do Not Disturb, and this I think is the second book I've ever read by Freida McFadden, and it was so good. It's about this woman who has committed a crime. And then she's trying to like run away from home to get away from the cops because she doesn't want to spend her whole life in prison. And then she like, her goal is to leave the country with a passport and just go cross the border and not ever come back. But once again, there's a snowstorm. I feel like there are so many like snowstorms and people being trapped and all that stuff, which I love. Like she goes to like this motel and like uses like a fake name and everything, you know, like try to not get caught, but like still have a safe place to stay for the night. And like her plan is to like the next day go pick right up where she left and just leave. But like there is something weird going on at the motel. Like the motel's owner's wife is always watching, and she's mainly watching Quinn, the person who's running away from home. And Quinn starts to like realize it's not really safe in the motel or even in her own room. Like she can't really go anywhere. And then even like the owner starts to be like a bit creepy and stuff. Like this book is also just insane. I adore it, but yeah, I don't really have any negatives about this book. It's my second favorite Freida McFadden book I've ever read. If you read any of these books, it would definitely be like my top 5, like top 3, top 4 maybe, if you want to read one by one as well, because that one is also so good. But this one, Do Not Disturb, is like, it's so good. And last but not least, we have The Housemaid. And I know it sounds so boring. It's such a boring way to end it. But I just love the first book. Like, the chapters are short. You read it away so quickly. The main character is a badass bitch. It's just so good. And it's about this woman who works as a cleaner. And then she gets a job to work as like a housemaid. So she gets to stay in this room and stuff. But there are weird things happening in the house. And this book has one of my favorite things that Freida sometimes does, which is that like, you have like part 1, part 2, part 3. In part 1, you're following the main character. And in part 2, you're following the other character. Like, the character kind of like is behind everything. So you get like their perspective on things as well. And that just makes the whole thing so much cooler. It feels so much more like interactive. And like you really get like a view inside their brain and how they were thinking and why they did what they did, and I adore that, and The Housemaid has that. That's one of my favorite things. Like I said, I think I read this book in like one go because it was so good. Like, it's not very thick, the chapters are really short, and her books are just so goddamn addicting. You don't want to put them down. They're so good. I love them. So yeah, The Housemaid is definitely up there. Not the whole series, obviously, but the first book will always have a special place to my heart. It's so good. So yeah, this is my ranking. Hi, Choco. This is my ranking of all the Freida books I've read. I feel like I've missed a few. Not that I've read them. These are all the books I read. But I feel like I need to finish my reading of her books. And also she's coming with another book this year, I think. Like, she's just cracking them out like that. I'm like, girl, take a breather. It's okay. You can think. Like, I'm jealous of how her ideas just flow. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment down below what your favorite Freida McFadden book is. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of me in the future. And of my cute little dog who's right here. And I'll see you later. Bye.